Hey there, Art Alvarez at MortgageWorks, where we have the answers and they're on the house. Last week on our Mortgage Minute, we talked about a concept I like to call friends don't let friends rent. The idea was simple. Consider co buying a home with a trusted friend so you can get into homeownership earlier instead of waiting years to do it on your own. Now, that conversation became even more interesting after I attended the Spring Summit hosted by the California Desert Association of Realtors. The keynote speaker was Brian Buffini, a nationally acclaimed real estate trainer and coach, and he shared some fascinating data about today's first time homebuyer. For example, the median age of a first time homebuyer in the United States is now 40 years old. Back in 1992, it was just 28. That's a huge shift.
He also pointed out that today only about 21% of the housing market is made up of first-time buyers, when historically it was closer to 30% or more. And another interesting stat, about 25% of those buyers are single women, while only about 10% are single men. Then he mentioned something that really got me thinking. In 2018, sports betting in the US was a $5 billion industry. By 2024, it had grown to about $150 billion, and the largest demographic participating in that is men aged 18 to 30. So that made me think, what if more of that energy and money was directed toward building long-term wealth through real estate? Because the truth is, homeownership doesn't require the huge down payments people often assume. For example, with a conventional conforming loan, a single-family home can be purchased with as little as 3% down. A duplex requires about 5% down, and a triplex or fourplex requires about 10% down. And remember, if you buy with a trusted friend, those down payments can be split. For example, two friends buying a single family home could each occupy a bedroom and split the down payment and mortgage. With a duplex, each person could occupy one unit. With a triplex or fourplex, you can live in one unit and rent the others, and that rental income can even help you qualify. And then there's the FHA program, which I think is even more powerful. With FHA financing, you can buy a single unit, duplex, triplex, or fourplex with just 3.5% down, as long as you occupy one of the units. Split that with a trusted friend or two, and suddenly home ownership becomes much more achievable. Not only do you get into the market earlier, but a multi-unit property can become the foundation of your first real estate investment portfolio. Later on, when life changes, maybe you get married, start a family, or want to move into a larger home, that property can remain as a long-term rental investment.
Now, while we're talking about opportunities, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something many people have been watching in the news lately: the volatility in the financial markets. With international events and geopolitical tension, particularly involving Iran and other global issues, we've seen some turbulence in the markets recently. Naturally, that raises the question: what does that mean for mortgage rates? First, understand that what we're seeing right now is likely a short term shock, not a long term trend. Yes, the stock market has pulled back somewhat, and we've seen movement in the 10-year Treasury yield, which is one of the best indicators of where mortgage rates are headed. But despite the headlines you may see in the media, mortgage rates haven't skyrocketed.
In fact, most mortgage programs today are still in the high 5% range, around 5.875% to about 5.99%, which is still quite favorable compared to where rates were just a couple of years ago when they were approaching 8%. So while the media tends to emphasize the drama, the reality is that mortgage rates are still in a range that can work very well for many buyers, especially if we structure the transaction strategically. For example, we can often negotiate seller credits that can help reduce your interest rate temporarily or even permanently, or help cover closing costs to make the purchase more affordable. In fact, times like these can actually create opportunities. When markets feel uncertain, many buyers step back and wait. That means less competition, which can give prepared buyers the chance to negotiate better prices and better terms. So if your job is stable, your income is solid, and you've been thinking about buying a home, this could actually be a very smart time to begin preparing. Visit our website and check out the rate grid right on our homepage to see where rates currently stand. You might be pleasantly surprised. But most importantly, remember this principle: when opportunity knocks, it's too late to prepare. So stay calm, be strategic, and get yourself ready. Get pre-qualified, get pre-approved, and start exploring what opportunities may be out there in today's market. And if you'd like to talk through your situation or run some numbers, I'd be happy to help. You can reach me directly at MortgageWorks by calling 760-969-5023. Again, that's 760-969-5023. I'm Art Alvarez with MortgageWorks, where we have the answers